Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, and thank you so much for inviting me to your wonderful series of talks. I'm
You're
really delighted to be
welcome.
here.
Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, my name is Eira Lynn Jones, and you probably know from my accent that I'm not English. I was born in Wales, and my name Eira means snow, so that's a fun fact about me. And I'm a freelance harpist. I live in Manchester, which is in the northwest of England. And I do all kinds of things from playing with orchestras. I'm in a chamber music group. I teach at the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester, but I also have private pupils. I run workshops, and of course, the reason I'm here today is to talk about some of my publications.
That's right, because I met you in one of the Zoom room hub chats, and I learned that you are a teacher, and I discovered that you have a set of books called Pick and Mix. Before we get you to reintroduce the story as to why you create the book, there are already two wonderful videos in your channel, so I'm going to link them to the audience, and they can hear why you created the book. So we can now dive into the meat and potato. What are these books good for, and how do we use them to build our skills?
Well, I actually started doing them by accident. I was asked to go and do some workshops for young harpists and adult players. And over a period of time, I realized that there were some gaps in their knowledge, that they would go to workshop and lessons and be taught a lot of music, how to play tunes, but sometimes they wanted to know how to play. So technically, how to play a harmonic. So I sat down and thought, well, what would I have liked to have seen when I was starting out? So this is a really good method. So Pick and Mix 1 is for all harpists. I've put this on the front page, warm-up exercises for all harpists. But when you open it, you might think it's quite easy and straightforward. But what usually happens is you get to a certain level and you work on your technique and you get the big technical exercise books and you play the first exercise, could be a variation on a scale, then it starts on the D, and you carry on up the scale. And it takes a very long time to get through the technical exercises. So I honed in on the most important aspect of a technique and created Pick and Mix. So it starts with very simple, straightforward use of two fingers, introducing intervals, triads, arpeggios, etc. And it's really important to not just think of technique in terms of how to place the fingers on the strings. Of course, we need to do warming up exercises, just like an athlete, has to warm up their muscles before a big race. But it's not just about playing fast things. It's actually warming up slowly. If you think of a string player, how many times have you seen string players doing really slow, long notes with a bow? And I wanted people to tune into an easier look on the page and say, I can do that one line. I don't have to do 2 pages today to complete the exercise. So each exercise is a line long. There are 8 lines or so on the page, and you can decide how many you want to do. So you progress through the book, and each book also has what I call toolbox pages. So I was, made for your series of
You
talks.
are.
And these toolbox pages cover all kinds of things, from knowing about the theory of music. I found that some people have been playing a long time and have forgotten, how to find a minor key, or maybe they were taught a very long time ago and they had come to the harp a little bit later in life and certain things hadn't been covered. So I'm covering the basics of music theory. Then there's the technique of special effects from the harmonics that I said before, different effects, damping. My favorite topic is the technique of practicing how to practice. So this is one of my favorite topics ever. I could spend 3 hours just telling you that there is an effective way of practicing that we have to work on. We have to find out, what works for us, and what we're doing at the time. So in Pick and Mix 2, it's more technical exercises. So I've got different kinds of patterns. I go through the essential components of how to play a scale well. Arpeggios. Now with an arpeggio, I don't immediately go and say, right, just place all 4 fingers on as a group straight away from the beginning. I break it down into several parts. So I might start with the lower 2 notes and just focus on 4 and 3. Then I might do the top group, which is a first inversion triad. Then the middle fingers, 3 and 2. And then 4, 3, and adding the top octave. But eventually, you get to the whole of the arpeggio. So by this time, you've really taken it all apart. You've got into the middle of that technical point that you need, and you should be much more comfortable with placing. So that's the way I've devised the book. In Pick and Mix 2, we have toolboxes, tool pages on thoughts for the day, for example. You'd pick a thought that you want to concentrate on. My favorite is this one. Everything you need is right here in front of you. It's all on the page. So you try and think, now what does that mean? Well, for me, that means you probably miss a lot of details on the page. So it's training your eye to make sure you're noticing all the details. So
This is
it's
really helping the harpist to sort of get in the right mindset even before you start getting into your pieces.
absolutely, and also during the pieces, thinking, am I thinking of my sound? Because with the technical warm-ups, you'll see that they're written, very gently. They look simple, but they're not. So you might just have to play 4 and 3 slowly, rather than, a whole set of really fast exercises. By just doing that, you're just going through the motions. So by focusing on 2 fingers, 2 strings, you're listening to your tone. So tone should be developed in conjunction with your technique. And very often I find that that's not talked about at the very beginning of playing. It's very much just setting the fingers on the strings. And I try and make sure that you listen to your sound from the very start.
So how do we pick and mix?
There is a flow to the book, so that I would definitely start with Pick and Mix 1 and go through the book methodically. It's called Pick and Mix because, for example, the first page has got 8 exercises on it, and this is where you can pick and mix those exercises. So you don't have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in a row. So it's great for young pupils because they feel they have a bit of control over that as well. You can say to people, you can choose 3 lines from this page this week. When you've gone through the book, you can then go back and then you can pick and mix different pages, so that in your warm-up, you're doing your slow strengthening exercises. You might decide you want to do a little bit more finger patterns, so you can jump to that page. You might want to look at the spacing between the fingers and work a little bit more on those middle or lower fingers. So that's when the pick and mix elements comes through as well. But I definitely would say it is worth starting with Pick and Mix, and then you'll see there's a progress when you go into Pick and Mix 2, the development of it. And there is Pick and Mix 3 in my head.
All
Okay, so
right.
that will be the next element, and that will be so maybe for more intermediate stroke advanced players. So, but I definitely would recommend, to do
Starting
this.
with one, and then once you
Yeah,
finish book one, you go to two.
but especially if you're an advanced player, but you think I've got some weaknesses, your Pick and Mix 1 is going to show you all those weaknesses. And sometimes I give them to my advanced students, and they come back after a week and say to me, "I can't play the harp. I can't do it." And I think, you've been listening really well to yourself. You've heard all the weaknesses in these simple exercises, and that's the whole point. If you're just playing very difficult warm-ups, you're just going to be concentrating on the notes. You're not going to be listening, feeling the strings, and noticing what you need to work on.
So where can we buy these Pick and Mix books?
Well, the best place is from my website shop. I'm sure you'll be putting a link up
I will.
about that. So you can download PDFs. Also, if you are wanting physical copies, my husband also runs my publishing company with me, and he deals with all those orders, and they go out first class. Just something to mention, because it's just been put on this week. I was recently at the Edinburgh International Harp Festival, and I was asked about my practice method, which was very popular during my courses. There's a free download of a sheet called Practice Success, and I'm very happy for your listeners to have that. I'll keep that on the website. So and that's a taste of the book as well. So you have a free download.
That would be great. And I'm sure that will work really well in conjunction with the book together. So I'll definitely include the link to your shop in there. And don't forget to check out your other music too, because I went to your channel and I noticed you have started putting videos of music that you have written in there. So I'll include the link to your channel as well, so our audience can check it out.
Wonderful. And in fact, I forgot to mention that I will be putting some videos of some of the exercises of Pick and Mix on there in the next few months, so that you can watch me do them, and I can play along with you in your practice too.
That's
So that'll be fun.
fantastic. Thank you so much for being here and tell us about Pick and Mix.
Oh, thank you very much for asking, and all the best with your series.
Thank you.